Good afternoon. Today's date is Thursday, December 15, 2016, and we would like to welcome you to the FPN webinar entitled Making the Most of Your FPN Membership. My name is Christopher Johnson, and I'm the Director of Programs and Learning at the Florida Philanthropic Network. On behalf of our staff and Board of Directors, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar. We're happy you can join us. For those of you on the call who may be unaware, the Florida Philanthropic Network is a statewide nonprofit membership organization based in Tampa. The members of our organization comprise of more than 100 grant makers and foundations who fund and support nonprofit organizations throughout Florida. Specifically, we advance philanthropy throughout the state through education, research, and public policy. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping details. Today's webinar will be recorded. So in addition to us emailing you a recording of the webinar, in the coming days you'll be able to access the webinar conveniently on our website and YouTube channel. At the end of today's presentation, we'll have ample time to answer your questions. Your lines are muted through the duration of the webinar, so please submit your questions in the chat box in the lower left-hand corner of your webinar's display. Also, please note, if you are tweeting and you're active on social media, FPN's Twitter handle is @FLPhilanthropy, and the webinar hashtag is LearnFPN. At this time, I'm going to introduce my colleagues and coworkers and the presenters in today's webinar. First, we have Stacy Carlson. She's the President and CEO at the Florida Philanthropic Network. Also here at FPN, we have Carla Batts. She is our Office Manager. After Carla, I will be speaking with you all. I'm the Director of Programs and Learning. Following me, we'll have Gila Ferguson. Gila is the Director of our South Florida office. And wrapping up will be Stephanie Gocklin, and she is our Communications Manager. So at this time, I will turn it over to our President and CEO, Stacy.
Thanks, Chris. And thank you to those of you joining us today on the call. We thought it was important to take a moment to just kind of revisit and reorient folks to the work that FPN does, especially as we are evolving as an organization. We have tons of programs that go on throughout the year, ways to connect our members to folks who are doing similar jobs within the network, who have similar interests in issue areas, and so we just appreciate you joining us today. One of the reasons that we're doing the webinar is to just give an overview of what we each do as staff members and introduce some of the programs and learning opportunities that we have and ways that you can access some of our resources. So as the President and CEO, my chief job here is to really help shape the organizational strategy, vision, mission, and goals, and to manage a network of relationships with our partners and thought leaders. I also work heavily in developing and managing our membership strategy, and ultimately I lead a team of very talented professionals to help us reach our overall goals. And lastly, I serve as the liaison between the board, where our vision and strategy gets set, and the execution of that strategy at a staff level. So it was 15 years ago that a group of foundations came together to imagine how Florida might look different if the philanthropic sector voice was represented in critical decisions impacting the state. As you can see here in our vision, some of the original 7 founders were interested in educating decision makers about the key and appropriate role for philanthropic dollars, mainly not to supplant where government was falling short, to playing a role on informing issue areas from the seat of the honest broker. The original founders saw the opportunity to leverage their honest broker position to put out research, policy briefs, hold convenings, and education. And today you see we continue to emulate the original vision of those founders. With a focus on collaboration, learning, and promoting and developing philanthropy and advancing public policy, our mission, guided by our values, provide the frame through which we do our work today. About 10 years ago, FPN began to grow its membership to go beyond the original 7 founders to a membership today, as Chris mentioned, that represents more than 100 funders. Our board recently undertook an exercise to go back through all the original documents, minutes, case statements, etc., that helped outline the beginning of the Florida Philanthropic Network and crosswalked those with the values that represent where we are today. And the result was are the 5 values that you see here that have stood the test of time and continue to guide us today. Now I'm going to turn you over to Carla Batts, who is our office manager, who will tell you about the work that she does here in the office.
Thank you, Stacy. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Carla Batts. I'm the office manager here at Florida Philanthropic Network. As our office manager, I wear several hats in my work, and I'm really involved in almost every facet of the organization. I want to share a few of the key roles that I'm responsible for so you're better informed about what I do regularly and also become more familiar with ways in which I can possibly assist you. One of my main tasks is being in charge of processing and tracking all of the new memberships and renewals that we receive. We currently have close to 110 members and are continuing to grow our membership and network, which we're very excited about. I also work very closely with our bookkeepers to ensure invoice and accounting needs are thorough and completed in a timely manner. If you ever need an invoice for record or processing purposes, you can certainly reach out to me directly to make that request. I'm also in charge of the logistical details and planning that occurs with each program we set up. In order to make sure everything is organized and the program runs smoothly, I really work closely with all of our team members here at the organization, but mostly with our Director of Programs and Learning and our Director in South Florida on those details, since each program requires different planning. I also track the registrations that come in for all of our programs, whether it's an in-person convening or webinar, and then record attendance afterwards. Please, again, feel free to contact me with any general program questions you have. In addition, I update our database regularly with all individual contact and organizational information. This includes all new memberships and renewals that we receive, which I mentioned earlier, as well as adding individuals to the appropriate email distribution list and signing them up to receive either our member newsletter or general public newsletter. If you ever happen to notice that any contact information that needs to be updated for your organization, if there are any changes to your current contact information, or if there are any changes in staff, please just notify me either by email or phone, and I'll take care of making those modifications to your account. Finally, I'm here to answer any general FPN questions you may have. You can certainly reach out directly to any staff member here for specific questions, or I'm more than happy to assist with directing you to the right person. My contact information is included in the slide in front of you. Thank you so much again for your time today, and now I want to turn it over to Chris Johnson, our Director of Programs and Learning.
Thanks so much, Carla. Greatly appreciate it. So hello, everybody. Again, my name is Christopher Johnson. I'm the Director of Programs and Learning with FPN. I'm glad you can be here, and we thank you for your membership. So my responsibility at FPN is really, in a very similar sense with Carla, really working closely with other staff members to fulfill our mission and move the organization forward. So as it relates to programs, I am really chiefly responsible for FPN's annual programmatic calendar. I work closely with our Director of South Florida, Gila, as well as our Communications Manager, Stephanie, in regards of marketing and promoting our programming. I work with Carla, as she just mentioned, with a lot of our logistical matters and making sure our programs run smoothly. And I work closely with our President, Stacy, to ensure that the strategy and the objectives of all of our programs are substantive, inspiring, and timely. In addition to that, I work with the rest of the staff as a member association. Everyone on staff has a role in some respect to membership, and I assist my colleagues with the recruitment and retention of FPN's members. Additionally, our affinity groups. FPN has 6 affinity groups and 2 member networks, and I oversee their meetings, convenings, and program content, and also collaborate with our Director of South Florida and our President on these matters as well. Public policy. So I primarily work with our President, Stacy, on our public policy efforts, most notably, establishing relationships with our statewide and federal elected officials to make sure that they're knowledgeable of how the decisions that they make impact philanthropy in the nonprofit sector in Florida. And this also includes overseeing FPN's annual visit to Washington, D.C., called Foundations on the Hill. For short, we call that FOTH around here. So if you hear us talking about FOTH, that's the program we're talking about. It happens annually every spring. And this is where we take a contingent of FPN members to D.C. for 2 days to meet with our federal congressional delegation. to establish those relationships. And then lastly, partnerships. FPN has a number of partners, both within and outside the philanthropic and nonprofit sector. Some of these organizational relationships include independent sector, grant makers for effective organizations, otherwise known as GEO, the Florida Chamber Foundation, and the National Center for Family Philanthropy, just to name a few. I seek opportunities for new partnerships as well as cultivate and nurture the ones we have to enhance the value of your membership. So if you have any questions or insights relating to some of the matters I just mentioned, whether it's programming, membership, joining an affinity group, public policy, or potential new partnerships for FPN, please let me know. So moving forward, we're going to get into the meat of our presentation and conversation today and really start speaking about how you really take advantage of your FPN membership. So I've broken my portion here into three sections: getting connected, being engaged, and staying informed. First and foremost, I want to speak to you about the importance of your profile on FPN's website. Creating your profile on FPN's website is your first and most important way to get connected with FPN. This will ensure that you are personally in our database and that you are receiving information from us. Moving forward, I want to touch on our newsletter. By creating a profile on FPN's website, you are automatically registered to receive our member newsletter. Our communications manager has developed a robust and informative newsletter which includes information from the nonprofit and philanthropic sector, both statewide and nationally, information and updates from your fellow members, and upcoming FPN programs, and much more. So it's a very, very informative piece that I would encourage you to take the time to read. Our membership directory is useful as well. The FPN membership directory is a great resource for you. It enables you to connect with your fellow FPN members who may be in your region or have similar funding interests throughout the state. FPN member profiles and the FPN member directory, I should mention, that are only accessible by FPN members. So other visitors to our website that are not members cannot access this information, in case you were wondering. Also, please note that your membership with FPN is organization-wide. This is something that at times trips up some of our members, or they're not familiar with if it's individual membership or if only certain people in their organization are members of FPN. Please know that your organization they're all members. So your staff people, your board of directors, we encourage them all to be engaged with FPN, to create profiles, and to be in the know of what's happening with the organization. Lastly, another way to connect with us is social media. Over the past year, FPN has strengthened its social media presence considerably. We are active on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also have a blog. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/FLPhilanthropy, and as I mentioned earlier, our Twitter handle is at FLPhilanthropy. A good reason to connect with us on social media is just another way to see some of the happenings that are happening in the philanthropic and nonprofit sectors, both nationally and statewide. Member news is disseminated that way. Program information is disseminated that way as well. And it's just another way to be connected to us and make sure you don't miss anything from us. Next, I want to speak to you about being engaged. So we talked about the profile earlier. We're going to go further in depth with a demo shortly here. But there are interest areas and interest groups that are in your profile that you want to make sure that you take advantage of selecting. This is a critical aspect of creating and building your profile, as equally as important as creating your profile in general. FPN, as I mentioned, has 6 affinity groups and 2 member networks. These affinity groups and member networks convene FPN members with similar interests, whether it's a funding area or job type or geographic area. We will dive deeper into these affinity groups and member networks and their purpose in just a moment, but in the interest areas and interest group portion of our website, that's where you would select this information. The key to understand is by selecting your interest area, your FPN profile, you will receive information, news, updates, and programmatic information from these affinity groups. As I mentioned, we'll explicitly dive into this in a moment. FPN programs and convenings, as a regional association of grant makers as we are, really our programming and convenings and opportunities to bring our members together is really the backbone of what we are in the spirit of our type of organization. In both 2015 and 2016, FPN hosted over 50 programs to keep you informed and enhance your capacity as a grant maker. The format of much of FPN's programs are webinars, in-person convenings, and at times we'll have teleconferences. The in-person convenings are held throughout the state to make it accessible to you, and we also often partner and collaborate with other national and statewide sector partners on programming as well. Networking is critically important in organizations such as the Florida Philanthropic Network. Undoubtedly, the strength of FPN's membership lies in our members. In addition to the program content, research of FPN members consistently highlights the ability to connect with other grant makers as a top reason which attracts members to our programming. We ensure to create dedicated time at each of our in-person convenings to enable you to network and connect with your peers. I encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities, which are invaluable at these convenings and programs. Lastly, I want to talk to you about being engaged with our annual statewide Summit on Philanthropy. FPN's annual statewide Summit on Philanthropy is the one-time philanthropic leaders of all types and funding areas from across the state of Florida have an opportunity to convene, learn, and connect with one another. Our next summit, please note these dates, our next summit will be held February 2nd and 3rd, 2017, at the Vinoy Renaissance Hotel in St. Petersburg. The summit provides an opportunity to hear from statewide and national leaders in the philanthropic and nonprofit sectors. In the past, the summit has attracted speakers such as political commentator and nonprofit leader Van Jones, author Carl Hyacin, and the presidents and CEOs of some of our sector's most significant national organizations, such as Independent Sector, GuideStar, and the National Center for Responsive Philanthropy, just to name a few. Speakers at this year's summit include Carl Zinsmeister from the Philanthropy Roundtable, renowned philanthropic leader Vu Lee, and Rip Rapson, who is the president and CEO of the Kresge Foundation, and many more. Moving forward, I want to speak to you about staying informed. We talked about the newsletter a little while ago, but there are some other opportunities in which you can stay informed and keep abreast of some key issues and matters relating to FPN as well. We'll go into greater detail about these in our demo that we'll do shortly, but in short, I want to touch on some of these that are here in front of you. On FPN's website, the newsroom is a collection of articles, blogs, stories, reports, and so on that FPN posts on our site, and it's all together collectively on our newsroom. We'll touch more on this in a moment. Member news. So as the name would imply, the member news is a section of our website, which is a collection of our information about FPN's members. Maybe there's staff hirings, maybe there's a new grant-making practice, a new funding cycle, things of that matter. Programming archive. So the programming archive is a significant resource as it is a catalog of the resources from past FPN events, including recordings from past FPN webinars. So we certainly want you to engage in our programming in person or virtually by webinars live if you have the opportunity to do so. However, if you cannot, we will post the resources that were disseminated at these programs in our programming archive, and make sure that our webinar recordings, such as this one, will be on our website as well. Lastly, we have the FPN newsletter. As we mentioned earlier, the FPN newsletter is the best way to stay informed about all things FPN. As my portion of today's webinar comes to a close, I want to touch on some final resources available to you. Our site has a wealth of information in our philanthropy resources section, and only some of these include state and federal resources. So we have information there which really articulates to you how to connect with your state and federal legislators. We also have a robust resource library of national and statewide resources as well. We have a great relationship with the Foundation Center and CF Insights for their Get on the Map campaign. Through a partnership with the Forum of Regional Association of Grantmakers and Foundation Center, we encourage Florida grantmakers to e-report their grants data to simply determine who is funding what and where. Please contact us to Get on the Map if you're unfamiliar with the Get on the Map campaign or if you're not yet on the map. Additionally, FPN has a partnership with the National Center for Family Philanthropy. This partnership enables our Family Foundation members to participate in NCFP programming, take advantage of their resources, and other membership benefits, all as a result of your exclusive membership with FPN. So please contact us for more details if you're a Family Foundation leader, trustee, or board member and wish to take advantage of these opportunities that you may not be familiar with at this time. Lastly, all of the research conducted by FPN, primarily through our affinity groups, can be found on our website as well. This information will keep you abreast of key issues, trends, and societal matters impacting our communities throughout Florida. We also have our Giving in Florida report that's also on our website which will give you insights into giving trends, the largest foundations in the state of Florida, and matters such as those. So at this time, I will hand it over to Gila Ferguson, who's going to talk to you more about what she does as well as our affinity groups at FPN.
Thanks so much, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. As Chris mentioned, I am the director of FPN's South Florida office. So the best way to think of me would be the on-the-ground presence in South Florida with an office at the Knight Foundation in Miami, which allows me to attend local meetings and programs throughout the South Florida region, which for our purposes we consider Palm Beach County, Broward County, Miami-Dade, and dipping into the Keys. I also serve as the liaison between our South Florida members and the FPN office in Tampa. Another role that I have within FPN is working on program development with Chris to format both programs and networking opportunities specifically for our South Florida members, but I also do assist as needed with the statewide summit and anything else that Chris and Carla would need along the way. One of the other roles that I fulfill within FPN is looking for and developing opportunities where FPN can collaborate and partner with organizations, specifically most of the time holding meetings within the South Florida region or having an interest within South Florida. So while Chris covers the rest of the state, I specifically focus on what's going on in South Florida. One of the things on my table right now is we're working with GSER, which is Grant Makers Concerned with Immigrants and Refugees, on not only a session for our summit, but a possible funders tour happening this spring. So look for more information on that. I am the staff person for the Florida Women's Funding Alliance, which is an affinity group of FPN working on issues facing women and girls in Florida. And we'll dive into the affinity group specifics in just a moment. And lastly, I am working with both Stacy, our CEO, and our Community Foundations consultant on the College Access and Success Initiative, which is part of a partnership with the Helios Education Foundation and the Kresge Foundation. Cassie is a 2-year grant-funded project that builds on the success of the Florida College Access Network, or FCANS as they're most oftenly referred to. The purpose of the grant is to leverage local private investment through Florida community foundations to engage and sustain college access coalitions with a goal of increasing the college-going and post-secondary completion rates of students traditionally underrepresented in higher education, and also building a college-going culture throughout the state of Florida. And so what you see on your screen right now is sort of a snapshot of what our affinity groups look like in a flow. Our affinity groups and member networks offer FPN members an opportunity to interact and connect with staff and board members of some of our other FPN members who may have similar funding interests, job responsibilities, type of funding that they do. So this illustrates the process of more so our funding or interest area affinity groups. As you can see in the center, FPN plays the role of convener, advocacy, networking. We share information from our affinity groups throughout our membership. So something that happens within one of our affinity groups, Stephanie, our communications manager, would include that in a newsletter that would go out to our entire membership. So the reach of the affinity groups would go beyond just the people engaged in that affinity group. We do research and education. We also work to bring collaborations to the group or help support collaborations that they bring to us, such as the Florida Women's Funding Alliance. And I encourage you to visit our website because the news is up there. Just did a study on the status of women and girls in Florida. And so we not only help support them through that, but now are using our website as a way for them to disseminate that information. And then you'll see, branching off from each group, may be specific actions that they are taking on policy or research projects with, of course, FPN support. And then some, as with the Florida Women's Funding Alliance and the Education Affinity Group have done, have formed broader coalitions to work on policy or action items that would incorporate non-FPN members. So the heavy lifting on that would then go into those policy coalitions or broader groups, while FPN would still stay engaged in but take a more peripheral role. And so that is me in a nutshell. Here's the list of actually all of our affinity groups and member networks. So as you can see, they are definitely broken up by job type, by funding or interest area, and we do have the Tampa Bay Funders Forum, which is obviously geographically centered. And just to note, the communications affinity group is actually handled by our communications manager, Stephanie, who I am happy to turn things over to right now.
Great. Thank you, Gila. Hello, everyone. I'm the communications manager at FPN, and a big part of my role is helping our members share news and connect with other members online. FPN shares member news in a variety of different ways, which we'll be going over today, on how to take the most advantage of our website and all of the features that we offer. One benefit of FPN membership is free postings on our FPN jobs board. So members are invited to share job opportunities free of charge, and then after that, FPN shares the posting through our FPN communications, such as our monthly newsletter, our general public newsletter, our social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, as well as through our national network of other regional associations. In December 2015, FPN launched a new website to provide members with a better online experience, where among these features, we have members-only areas where you can access benefits specifically related to your FPN membership, as well as a dynamic membership directory, a comprehensive knowledge base, and part of that is that we've created a special news feed on our website that pulls in news from FPN members around the web and displays them all in one place. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and take you through some of the features on fpnetwork.org to enhance your membership. So if you go to fpnetwork.org, which is our website, when you first arrive, you'll be greeted with the slides of recent news or upcoming programs. We have our summit coming up. Florida Women's Funding Alliance just released a groundbreaking report. And if you scroll down, you can see what's new. This section is FPN news, not the member news section that I was speaking of earlier. You can also see a list of our upcoming programs at a glance and the FPN Twitter feed to see what we've been up to, what members are doing around the state, and any recent or important news for Florida grant makers. Below our Twitter feed, you'll find a second row of links where we welcome our new FPN members, and we also include links to the FPN jobs board and some quick links to navigate the site. To take full advantage of fpnetwork.org, we need to be logged in, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. If you're an existing user, you can activate your account by entering your email address and your password, and you can register a new account. Once you've registered your email address, your account will enter the approval queue, which can take up to 48 hours, but we're usually much faster than that on getting you approved. And if you forget your password, you can just click on the Forgot Password link to have a new password sent to you. Always make sure to check your spam folders and mark FPN communications as not spam or not junk to ensure that future notices go directly to your inbox. Now that we're logged in, I'm going to take us to our profile that Chris was speaking of earlier. You can click on My Account in the top right corner. This is also where you can change your password and you can check current and past registrations. To make changes to my current profile, if I click Edit Profile, we'll pull up again. I can change my password. I can upload a picture, put a face to my name, update my title if my job title or any of that information has changed. Your profile is only viewable to other FPN members and only when they are logged into their account. So nobody can see your contact information unless they're also an FPN member. Under professional interest areas, this helps keep FPN informed about the types of programming you're interested in so that we can help develop programming that meets the professional needs of our members and your organization. For me, obviously, I might say communications. Might say I'm interested in the Tampa Bay Funders Forum since our office is located in Tampa. For topics of interest, this helps keep us informed about topics that you care about and also allows you to connect with other members with similar interests through the membership directory. Again, as a reminder, your profile is only viewable to other FPN members and only when they are logged into their account. So I'm going to save. And now that we've updated my profile, we can move on to the membership directory where we can access member organizations and contact profiles. In the top navigation menu, if we go to Members, Membership Directory, the member organizations is a current list of all FPN member organizations, and we can scroll through these members alphabetically. We can search for specific members using the search box on the right-hand side or at the top of the page, or we can look for types of members using the search options on the right-hand side. So we have funding areas, funder category. We might want to find other family foundations or other community foundations, staff size, county, and then geographic funding areas. Each organization has a key contact on record with access to edit organizational profiles. If you are the key contact, when you are looking at your individual profile, you'll see an edit link next to your organization's name. Member organization profiles allow members to include contact information, mission and goals, website links, and staff contacts. So I've pulled up Allegheny Franciscan Ministries here, and we can see that they are a public charity grant maker. We can see their address, their phone number, their website. They've added their social media links. They've also added information about their mission and goals and their funding areas. Additionally, on the right-hand side, we can see all related contacts to Allegheny Franciscan Ministries. So this is everybody that is currently connected to this account, which means that they've created the account on our website and we've approved them, and we can look at their individual profiles. Again, this information is only available to FPN members that are logged into the account. So we can also see down here on each individual member page, they have a menu called Related Content. And what that does is that pulls up member news that that has come in through Google, or they have sent to me directly to be included on the website. And the area to find all of the member news is under Members, Member News. These are articles from around the web that are about or contain information about FPN members. In summer in 2016, we launched a new feature on the website that allows members and the public to easily find clips and mentions of FPN members in recent articles. The member news section is a little bit different than the newsroom because this section focuses solely on what FPN members are doing in the philanthropic sector. The special news feed pulls in news from FPN members around the web and displays them all in one place. To find all of these items, to find all FPN news-related items, you can go to Find It Fast and click on the link for the newsroom. But while we're here in member news only, I'll show you that you can search for news items by funding area. So I can pull up all of the news items that are in the database related to workforce. I can also pull up different audiences as well as related organizations, and once I've put in workforce now, it's going to be drilling down to that. So I have two articles that are for the Florida Women's Funding Alliance audience and are related to workforce. You can also search for member news by searching the organization. And these will, when you scroll through them, they go through a number of hits. So Gulf Coast Community Foundation has a lot of hits in our system, and as you scroll down, you'll see that the numbers get smaller. This is what we pull from Google, but also members can send me news directly so that you can stay up to date with what other Florida grant makers are doing in the sector in the state. Another way to stay in touch with Florida grant makers is to look through our upcoming programs. We have an events calendar that's accessible on our website under Programs, Upcoming Programs. And you'll see that the location title will indicate if it's an in-person program or a webinar. Registering for webinars is done through online meeting providers such as ReadyTalk. So these events will include position descriptions, but you will click to a third-party site to register for the event. Convenings are in-person programs, and you can register for them directly through fpnetwork.org. You must be logged in to register for these programs, and when you're logged in as a member, you'll automatically have access to member pricing. For example, the Tampa Bay Funders Forum cost for non-members is $50, but because I am logged in, I can see that my pricing is automatically giving me the member pricing at $35. On this page for Tampa Bay Funders Forum, this event page, I can see who's speaking, what I expect to learn. I have all the information here on the right. And so I just want to click Register Now to add the event to my shopping cart. Oh, of course. So I'm going to click Register Now to add the event to my shopping cart, and there we can see it. And then when I'm ready to check out, I can click Checkout, or I can also navigate through the website and come back to my cart up in the top right corner. This registration is going to be for myself, for Florida Philanthropic Network. I'm going to put in my information. One thing that happens frequently with members, with our FPN member contacts, is that they may change titles, or their relationship might change with an organization where they may be an executive and now they're going to be a board member, or they're an executive of one organization but a board member of another. That's why we always want to make sure that we have the job title of the relationship listed so that we know how to accommodate that at the in-person convening. I'm going to continue to my next step, and I can go all the way through here. I'll enter all of my billing information. Another thing that you can do as an FPN member is you can actually register for another member of your organization, which means that one person can register and purchase multiple tickets at the same time. To register for other members, they must also have an authorized member account connected to your organization. They can apply, or the organization's key contact can add them. Here is a screenshot of an example when I have other people registered connected to my organization. This is the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. I can click this registration is for other contact, drop-down menu, and select the people that are in the system. If you don't see the name of somebody, that means that they haven't yet registered for an FPN account, and they'll need to do that from the beginning. So also in our programs, we have our annual summit, and you can view the upcoming schedule and speakers lineup for the summit in St. Petersburg from February 2nd to 3rd, including pre-summit activities, pre-summit dinners. On the right-hand side of the summit pages, you'll see a link to register now at the top of the navigation menu. This will take you off-site to our summit registration page. Just as a reminder, our early bird deadline is tomorrow, December 16th, so if you haven't registered yet for the summit, now is the time to take advantage of discounts for FPN members. After the 16th, the members still receive a discounted registration compared to non-members, but all of the pricing will increase. So now moving on from our events to our resources. As Chris mentioned, we have Get on the Map. Get on the Map is a resource exclusively for FPN members, so you must be logged in to view this content, and you must be an FPN member to access it. When you are logged in, you will see this information down here to click to view the FPN Foundation map, which will take you directly to log into the Foundation Center maps. Get on the Map is a visualization of grants data that lets you find out who's funding what and where. and also when they were funding it. So all this information is pulled from the 990s. So we do encourage all of our members to actively participate by sending updated information, and you can find how to get on the map in these 2 easy steps right on our website. And what that does is it helps better inform funders today using real-time data on the issues that are affecting Florida communities. All of our other resources are stored in our knowledge base, which features specific resources for our members, and it's also connected to our national organization of other regional associations across the country. We have our disaster philanthropy resources, which sadly was a really pertinent topic in 2016. These resources are organized by date that they are released, and you can also filter by resource type, research, reports, templates, sample documents, job descriptions, and you can search by funding area. When this webinar is complete, the webinar recording will be posted in the resources section of the website along with the slides and any additional information that we post, and you can look back through all of FPN's hosted webinars and refresh your memory or watch at your convenience by accessing our program library. And this will pull up all of our webinar recordings. So you can see we have our webinar from last week. Many of these webinars are available to members only, so again, I'd just like to stress that you do have to be logged in to take full advantage of the FPN website. Moving on to our affinity groups, FPN member interest casts a wide net, as we heard earlier. We have member and affinity groups that allow an opportunity to connect grant makers in specific funding areas or specific role responsibilities. We have our Communications Affinity Group, Community Foundations of Florida. Just yesterday, the Florida Women's Funding Alliance released a groundbreaking study by the Institute for Women's Public Policy Research. And earlier this month, the state of Florida set an attainment goal for education and a major step in improving graduation rates, and that's also been a priority of our Education Funders Affinity Group for the past 2 years. You can click on any affinity group or member group to learn more about that group and view upcoming events, related resources, current current members, and additional information. Here we have the EAG, we have their newsletters. And then we have Community Foundations of Florida, which includes resources available only for community foundations as part of their membership with FPN and CF Insights. FPN Community Foundation members can review resources such as transfer of wealth information that is not available to other types of foundations. As we move forward, we will continue to build these pages with input from our members. And so you can always contact me at stephanie@fpnetwork.org for suggestions or comments on our website. And that about wraps it up for the website. One other thing I'd like to show you today is our monthly newsletter for FPN members. It's called Members Memo. It's a slightly different version from our public newsletter because it contains all upcoming programs, some of which are only available to FPN members. And it also includes links to members-only resources that might be released that month and then later added to the FPN knowledge base. You can update your preferences. When you receive any FPN communication, you can, if you scroll to the bottom and click Update Your Preferences, you can change your name, change your organization. You can sign up for different communication streams. This is probably the most important, to make sure that you never miss a notification or update for a specific group or funding area. For instance, I might say I want to sign up for Communications Affinity Group, Florida Women's Funding Alliance, Tampa Bay Funders Forum. I want to make sure I get all that summit information. Links for the specific group updates are included in the members memo, but more information is available on a tailored basis. And once we've added a professional interest or topic, if there is a group for that, we'll make sure that you receive information and add you to the FPN member communications that are most relevant. So thank you everyone for following along with me. Remember, you can contact me with questions about fpnetwork.org, our social media presence, such as how to follow us or get added to our members list, email communications to make sure you're receiving relevant information, and when you're ready to share news or job descriptions via the FPN Jobs Board and our social network, you can email me directly, or you can send me a note through our website. Thanks again. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Stephanie. Greatly appreciate that. That was very informative. We are now at the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we actually do have some questions that have been sent in for the staff. So this question I will ask you, Stephanie. It just came in. How much member information can non-members or the public see in the membership directory on the FPN website? Just wanted to reiterate that.
Sure. So actually, if you don't mind, I'll share again with you and I'll show you. It's not much at all. It's pretty much the name and the website. So let me log out and I will show you what non-members can see. So here in our member directory, members organization, the name of the organization and the website. When I click through, they can see the city, again, the website, your social media information if you have put that up there, and then related content from the member newsfeed. And remember that the member newsfeed is public information. It's news articles that have been released, and so we make every effort to make sure that the information we're publishing about our members in the newsfeed is relevant, related to the philanthropic sector, and will provide additional information for other members. And so you'll also notice that you cannot see any of the people. You don't see any individuals that are involved in the organization.
Excellent, excellent. This is another question that came in. I think I'm going to probably pose this to Carla. So the question was, when someone leaves our organization, how can we add or remove them from our account? When someone leaves or joins our organization, excuse me, how can we add or remove them from our account?
If somebody joins the organization, as Stephanie mentioned earlier, they can actually sign up for an account online, and then I'll get that information and update it on the account in the database. If for some reason a staff member leaves at any point, if somebody from the organization can just notify me directly, again at carla@fpnetwork.org or at my phone number, I can make that update into the account in the system to make sure that information is accurate and up to date.
Great, thanks, Carla.
Yep.
This is another question that came in, and since Gila spoke so much about our affinity groups, I'll probably pose this to her. So the question was, am I allowed to join multiple affinity groups?
Absolutely. As long as you are an FPN member, you can join as many affinity groups that are of interest to you, for sure.
Thanks, Gila. I actually have another question. We have several questions actually today. So how can I find out when it's time to renew my membership? So I will tackle this this question here. Certainly anyone of us on staff can be contacted. Most certainly you can contact Carla or myself or our president, or if you're anybody for that matter. But most notably, if you're in South Florida, we like to really make sure that our members realize that Gila is a resource to them down there, being the director of our South Florida office, and she'll get you connected in that regard. And then here at FPN in Tampa, where we're headquartered, quite frequently, Carla fields those questions and is able to explain to people, like, their invoice if they need one, the term of their membership. But here at FPN, we are on a January to December annual membership time frame. So ultimately, with very few exceptions, your membership should be from January to December. We have another question here. This is probably best posed for Gila or myself. So what's the best way to make speaker recommendations to submit topics I'm interested in? So that's an excellent question. So quite frequently, I failed to mention this earlier, quite frequently we rely upon the intellectual capital that exists within our membership. So our members and their experience in the field, in the fields that they work, to be presenters and to be speakers. But then also frequently we have members suggest speakers to us, either for our summit or for an affinity group meeting or potentially a webinar. So at any time you can reach out to certainly anyone on staff, but primarily speaking, Gila and myself, we lead up the program development and such. So if you want to send those inquiries or suggestions our way, we will certainly get more information from you and look to see how we can integrate that subject matter into our programmatic calendar. We have another question. This is for Stephanie. How long does it take before my profile is active on FPN's website?
Once you register for the site, you'll receive an email saying that it takes up to 48 hours because we have to go through and approve your account on our end. This is a safety feature. It makes sure that nobody is registering for you to get access to our membership directory, and it also helps us make sure that you're connected to other people in your organization so that when you are registering for an event, you can register for them or they can register for you because you're all linked up. So you will receive an email that says 48 hours. Typically, we're quite a bit faster than that. But if you ever have any questions about your account or maybe it's kind of seemed like a while and you haven't received an approval, you can always call the office directly. So I think it looks like we don't really have any more questions for today. On your screen you will see our Connect with FPN slide. That has all of our phone numbers and how to reach us. Carla, we have Carla, Stacy, Gila, myself, and Chris. You can also connect with us through social media. And our generic email is info@fpnetwork.org. If you have a question and you're not sure who exactly to send it to, we can make sure that it gets to the right person when you email them. You can also, of course, visit our website and visit us on social media and use the hashtag LearnFPN when you are attending our webinars. If you have any other additional questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much for attending today.